Hi folks, welcome to the Inside Track Cheltenham special. We're on day 4 now, Jim. Stamina's now having to kick in. Yesterday was a bad day for punters. Factor File obviously did okay, won the race. We were all over Johnny Who for a handicap. An absolute shambles in the end. The starter has been the big story of the week. He's taken centre stage. What's been your take on the whole thing?
Yeah, it's been very, very interesting. Just touching on those horses you mentioned, Derek O'Connor, I mean, everybody thought he had that race covered on Johnny Who in the last, and Keith Donoghue in the first on 6.5. Everybody thought he had it won as well, but Rachel knew different. She came with a 16-1 outsider, and then, of course, she backed that up on Bob Ollinger in the big race later on. So it was a great day for Rachel Blackmore backers, if you managed to find those two, so well done if you did. And it was a great day for Doddy the Great as well, winning for Nicky Henderson, Kenny Alexander, donating the money to the Doddy Foundation charity, which is absolutely fantastic. And I've got my Doddy Weir tie on today. I'm going down to host a Gold Cup lunch at Ayr Racecourse, so looking forward very much to that. But you mentioned the starter. It's been a very controversial week in terms of the starts. There's been one or two of the races that I just could not understand why he just didn't let them go. There was absolutely no reason not to let them go. And then there's been other races where you can see that some of the jockeys are out of order. And you can see why they've been fined later, and you can see why the stewards have had a word with them. But we really need to get these starts sorted out, Robert. I'll tell you why, because when we're watching racing during the week, and I'm not talking about on course, I'm talking about the racing channels, which are very minority audiences. There's not many people seeing these farcical starts because they do happen every day. But in front of a live ITV audience 4 days a week, the biggest 4 days of the racing year in terms of jumping, it's not good enough. It really isn't. And we really have to sort it out. There's so much confusion as to how the starts should be conducted. And I don't think anybody really knows a definitive agenda that the starter has. So we need to spell that out. Remember, I mean, I was explaining this to somebody yesterday. You're dealing with, in a big race, a big field rather, 26 live animals. Now, no matter how good these professional and top amateur jockeys are, you are never, ever in 100% control of a thoroughbred racehorse. It is so difficult to get them all lined up at once, and the starters really have to start taking that into consideration.
I think a big part of the problem this week is so many punters, maybe they're just your casual punter that watches Cheltenham every year, are going into races now thinking they're beat from the start. You know, there's been so many horses whose chances this week have been completely killed by the time the tape goes up. Yeah. I think that's the biggest problem.
That's been the problem, and I don't do sour grapes, Robert, but 3 of my main selections have been done in by the start. Absolutely done in by the start. Now those selections are gone. I'm not going to moan about them because I've won 2 Racing Post Nap stables, and I'm quite sure I've had a lot of luck along the way as well. So I'm not going to moan about these starts. But the problem is, from a visual point of view, to a terrestrial TV audience, they think it's a farce. They really think it's a farce, and we have to sort it out.
Yeah. Well, hopefully when the Triumph goes off this afternoon, we'll get a good start, nice and fair. What's your thoughts for today's card?
Yeah, just working through today's card. The Triumph Hurdle is the one that gets us started today at 1:20. Back in the old days, the Peter O'Sullivan days, it was the Daily Express Triumph Hurdle. Those days have long gone. JCB is well associated with the race now. I think this is between the 2 main horses in the market, although you never know what might appear from down the field. I mean, Willie Mullins has got 11 of the 18 runners, which is an absolutely astonishing ratio. But East India Doc, very good flat horse. He's done it 3 times over hurdle. Sam Twiston-Davies thinks the world of the horse. It's the owner's 92nd birthday, would you believe? Bill Gredley, so I think he'll be hoping that his colours come home in front. Lulamba is the pick of Nico de Boinville, even before Nicky Henderson's other horse came out. So that's got to be a danger, especially given how good they were with a horse called Sergino in this race. But Lulamba, I think, is the danger to East India Doc. But if I was having a bet and having the place pot in this one, it's going to be East India Doc. So moving on to County Hurdle, when I am very interested in a horse here, it's number 12, Val Grand. It was my headline selection in the Inside Track column in the Scottish Sun yesterday, Thursday. It's the Nap selection in the paper today. It's trained by the Skeltons, Dan, the trainer, Harry, the jockey. They've won it. Well, Dan's won it 4 times. Harry's won it twice. His wife Bridget's won it twice as well. I think this could be number 5. I think it's been laid out for the County Hurdle since it won a Grade 2 novice hurdle here at Cheltenham on the other course earlier in the season. He's been dropped in the handicap 139 to 134 for no apparent reason. No apparent reason. And I think he's very well in there today. You've got to mention Carjess. It's another one that's going to be running in the Kenny Alexander colours. It's going to be running for Willie Mullins. Paul Townend, it's his pick. He's on board that. It's got some very classy Grade 1 form. Second in the Triumph last year. That's going to be favourite. That's going to be the danger. But Valgrand's in that for me. When we get to the Mayor's Chase, Robert, it's not a race I want to bet on, but I want to mention two. Dino Blue is probably the best mare in the race and probably should win. That'll be my place pot selection. But I just want to take a wee look at number 9. She could be anything now. The clue's in the name because Gordon Elliott trains this one. Sam Ewing is going to be in the saddle. Jack Kennedy is going to be on Limerick Lace for Gavin Cromwell. But she could be anything I think could be better than she's shown so far. And she might just run into a place with 9 runners at a big price. But Dino Blue, I think, is the one for the mares. Once we get to the Albert Bartlett, over 3 miles, I think it's long been my fancy and long been a fancy of yours, Derry Hassan Paddy for Lucinda Russell and Derek Fox, but crucially missed a race they intended to give him at Haydock last time. So it's going to be very interesting to see just exactly how straight he is. Of course, he's going to be fit, but is he going to be race straight for a race like this when he really has to be at his peak? There's one or two others you could mention, Jet Blue, An Intense Approach for John McConnell. But what about Derry Hassan Paddy for you, Robert?
Yeah, well, when we've talked about him enough on the programme, Jim. He's unbeaten record to defend today. The money's certainly come from him. I mean, he was 25 to 1 just a week ago. He's now into, I think, 8s or 9s.
Yeah.
And I definitely think he's got a good each way chance today.
Yeah, definitely. Rachel Blackmore rides for Willie Mullins in this race, but the mare, the big Westerner for Henry de Bromhead, Darren O'Keefe is going to be in the saddle on that one, down at the bottom, getting the £7 mare's allowance. That's the one I put up each way. But Derry Hassan Paddy for me as well. I think the course, the trip, and the likely strong pace is going to suit this horse. At this stage, you can maybe feel a wee bit sorry for Craig Nicholl, who's been jocked off because the ownership changed. But good luck to Derek Fox because he has had no luck with some of these starts this week, and he deserves a wee turn on Derry Hassan Paddy. Will he get a turn on a Hoy Senior though? That's the big question in the Gold Cup. They've given the horse a wind operation. We followed this horse over a cliff, Robert. I don't think it's going to win the Gold Cup today, but I think Peter Scudamore would be delighted if it made the first 4.
Yeah, I spoke to Scoot Kelso a couple of weeks ago, and he said that. He says if he finished in the first 3 or 4, I think it'll be a big step forward for the run he had at Windsor and the Haydock. Again, Galopin Deschamps wins, doesn't he? Surely. Although,
yeah, you would think so.
How many times have we said that this week and the jumpings went to pieces? But I think Galopin Deschamps, it's his time to join Best Mate and Cato Star along with the greats, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, so many things have gone wrong this week, and I do not wish anything to go wrong with Galopin Deschamps. I want this to be a perfect horse race over 3 1/4 miles. I'd love a Hoy Senior to stay on into 3rd or 4th. That would be absolutely fantastic after Corach Rambler finished 3rd for the Russell team last year. But the unknown quantity here now, how can I say it's unknown when it's one of King George? But the unknown quantity here in terms of Galopin Deschamps, a horse that won the King George at Kempton. Some people wondered before that race whether he would appreciate the 3 miles. Well, he looked after that race as if he would appreciate further. I think he's the big danger to Galopin Deschamps today. And I think if Galopin Deschamps sees off Banbridge, a King George winner at the peak of his form, from a stable at the peak of their form, with JJ Slevin determined to make up for falling off fast or slow last year, then I think Galopin Deschamps will be a worthy 3-time winner.
And what about the Fox Hunters? I said on a preview show that I thought Shearer was Paul Nicholls' best chance of winner.
Yeah.
Didn't have Caldwell Potter factored in there. I mean, that pill at the post job yesterday was sensational. I still think Shearer's got a right chance in the Fox Hunters today. Have you backed in the race?
Yeah, 24 runners, and surprisingly, I'm quite hopeful about one. I see where you're coming from with Shearer. I can see the case being made for Angel's Dawn, which has been plodding round in point-to-points this season. And Pa King comes back on for Sam Curling today. Sam also runs another one, Wonderwall, which just confuses matters with Rob James in the saddle. But the one I think will win this is Derek O'Connor. We had a wee pop at him at the top of the show there. I thought he should have won on Johnny Who yesterday, but I think he'll win this one. I think he'll be determined to make up for it in this one. It's on the line. Second last year to a horse I backed, Sheena Nominee. But she was no good in the Kim Muir yesterday. She got tailed off very early on. But it's on the line. Don't worry about that form not being franked yesterday. It's on the line. Has been laid out for this race by Enoch Mullins. I think he's a great bet today.
And the final race of the whole lot, the Martin Pipe.
The Martin Pipe. Well, now
what have you done in that?
everybody is just going to say, "Oh well, this is a penalty kick for Kopek de Me." But how do you know that? Because we have no idea what this French form equates to. It's a handicap debutant. The British handicapper has had a stab. That's all we can say. He's had a stab at a mark for this one. Aidan Kelly rides for Willie Mullins. Remember, it's the conditional jockeys race. The pros are all on the way home or up in the hospitality boxes by this stage of proceedings. But what about an East India double, Robert? An East India Dock win in the 120 and an East India Express win in the Martin Pipe. Nicky Henderson trains. Freddie Gordon has been booked for this horse for weeks because he's the man that's ridden it to its last 2 victories. And I think this is well handicapped. So East India Express is the one for me in the Getting Out Stakes. The Martin Pipe conditionals, and let's see if we can finish with a winner.
Well, the great thing about this sport is it always rolls on. So if you skint again at Cheltenham today, you've got your Toxer tomorrow. Have you had a look at the card there?
Yeah, I'm going to put up 3 very quickly, Robert, just before we go. I'm going to mention Apple Away for Lucinda Russell and Derek Fox in the Midlands Grand National over 4.25 miles at Uttoxeter. That's at 3 o'clock. Thought it ran a terrific race last time at Haydock over 3.5. Don't be too worried about away up at 11 stone 10 there. I don't think the ground will be soft enough for the top weight, Mr. Vango. So Apple Away for me in the Midlands Grand National at 3 o'clock. I'm going to nap a horse in the paper tomorrow at Uttoxeter. That's called Joyeux Machan, which was taken out of the Coral Cup midweek, of course, to wait for this 100 grand handicap at Uttoxeter. Joyeux Machan for the Skeltons is my nap on Saturday. And we can't leave without another we mentioned for Lucinda, and that's Walk On Quest, which goes for the 3 miles novices handicap chase at 3:35. I think this horse is miles in front of the handicapper, but the price will reflect that. It's going to be short.
Thanks very much, Jim. Hopefully today's a better day for the punters than yesterday was. So good luck with your bets, folks.
Good luck, everybody.